Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to look at the post-production of light painting videos using Luminar Neo and layers. So this is one of my light painting pictures that I took. It's composed of about 14 different exposures that I put inside of Lightroom and then actually went into Photoshop and did a stack on them. In this video though, we're going to use Luminar Neo to do a more manual process that gives us a lot more control over the photograph. Now if you don't know what light painting is, I'm actually going to do another video that actually goes out and shows you the techniques of light painting. But I'm really excited about light painting. I like photography. I mean, we all like photography, right? But light painting gives you so much control over the light and being able to isolate different things and controls of the color and everything. It's just really cool. I'm really enjoying this type of photography. So stay tuned for that video. But we're going to jump into Luminar Neo now and see how we do the post-production using the layers inside of Luminar Neo. So we're in Luminar Neo. I'm in the catalog. This is my base image that I'm going to be using. So my initial exposure is to catch the stars in the sky. So I was actually illuminating the tree, but really I'm looking at this for the stars that I've captured up in the sky. I was trying to catch the Milky Way in this image, but the light pollution on the horizon there was too much. This is one of the darkest areas near me, and it's just not really dark enough to catch a Milky Way photograph. But I'm going to use this as my base image inside of this, and we're going to come in to edit. And what we're going to do is, if I'm stacking images, I could be stacking a lot of images. I'm only going to stack 2 or 3 images inside of this for the demo, but really if I go out and I'm on a larger light painting session where I'm painting stuff, there could be 14, 15 or more images that I'm stacking because I'm painting different areas of the image. And so in this case, I'm just painting this one tree, and I use this image because it has the stars in the background, and that's kind of another component of this light painting thing that we do. So I have it in here, and if I was going to make any adjustments, I would go ahead and make them. If like I was in the picture over here or whatever, I would remove myself from the base image so that I can get this kind of where I want it to be. But everything looks fine on this one, so I'm not really going to mess with that. Now what I would do is I would come in and I would click Add New Layer. And well, yep, I'm going to click Add New Layer, which takes me here. I'm going to click this. So if I already had my images loaded in here, which I have several images where I've been playing around with this, I would maybe already have it loaded. But in this case, I'm going to come out and I'm going to click the plus button. I'm just going to assume I don't have my image loaded. And I'm going to go through and find the image that I'm going to use as the next layer on this one. And in this case, it is going to be this image right here. And I add this in, and we're just going to replace it. And it puts it over here, so it doesn't automatically add it right away. It just puts it inside of my images. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select that image. And it's going to add it to the picture as the next layer. Now over here there are some things to kind of pay attention to. We have opacity, which basically goes through, and if I turn it up all the way, it's just showing my base image. And if it's just showing my next layer. And if I turn it all the way down, I'm back to the base layer. Now, if I turn it on at 50%, you can kind of see some stuff happening here. I can see basically everywhere I need to go back through and paint. But if you look at the sky, the reason that we're going to just paint the sections that we want to have on the tree is if you look at the sky. So I shot these images pretty close apart. There was maybe less than a minute. But you can see the stars are already moving. In this type of image, you've got to have your one base image to actually capture the stars. And then we're just going to go ahead and paint the sections inside of the, like on this case, the tree, my subject, that I want to have exposed. What I end up doing is I go into masking, I select brush, and then I go with whatever brush size I want. But then I'm going to come back out here and I'm going to look. So this is my new image. This was my old image, right? And so on this new one, I want to focus down here on the bottom of the tree. I've got a lot of good light down there on the bottom of the tree, so I'm going to bring my opacity back over, go back into masking where I've got the paint thing set up, and I'm going to paint this bottom of the tree. And what this is doing is it is exposing that part of the tree. So if I come back through, I turn my opacity all the way up, you can see what it's doing. Now that's another thing to pay attention to, because I am going and I can crank my opacity all the way up and it brings up a full effect. And if I crank it down just a little bit, I can control how much, basically how much I'm pushing onto this final image. So if I don't want it so bright, I'll just bring my opacity down a little bit. If I want it really bright, I can crank it all the way up. For the sake of this demo, let's keep it all the way cranked up. Now, another thing to look at, if you've watched my other video on where I created the smart object inside of Photoshop, you can do the same thing here by selecting like lighten or however you want to stack these, and it will go ahead and stack them just like we did the smart image in Photoshop. I'm not going to do that on this one, and on this particular image that technique would not work because of the star movement in the sky. We need to go back through and just highlight the sections of the tree we want. So let's add one more layer onto this. Let's come back into here, go down, find our next image that we want to layer on top of this one. So we've got it in it, put it into my images. I'm going to click on it. It's going to add it as another layer on the top. And I'm back here again. If I come back with opacity all the way, this is my new layer. This is where I'm stopping. So in the section I want to paint is up here on the top. On the top right is what I'm after on this one. So I'm going to go back in through here, do masking, select brush, and then I'm going to come back up and through here and paint this section of the tree up in here because I like the light on that particular one. And if I come back out here to properties, I increase the opacity. I've got, you can see what it's doing there. So I brought the lights out in the tree. So once I get this all situated to where I want it, I can just come back out and final adjustments. And usually this is kind of like my baseline, but I will come into color, and usually I'm going to bring up the vibrance a little bit. I want to bring the vibrance up. And a lot of times I like to drop the temperature down. It brings a little blue into the sky, which is kind of what I'm after in this one. And then finally, down under landscape, we have dehaze. And I'll bring the dehaze up a little bit. And it tends to have, I mean, this is what I get if I crank it all the way. But it tends to have a good effect on the sky where it's bringing out the stars and making my sky look like I want it to look. So once we're finished with this, basically I can export this by coming back up to Luminar Neo and selecting File and then going to Export, and then I can export this out as a JPEG or PNG or TIFF or whatever I'm going to use it for. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please give me a like down below. And if you'd like to see more of these Luminar videos, Photoshop, and Lightroom, please go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.